Shocking footage has just surfaced showing the final moments before a beloved whale trainer was brutally attacked by the very creature she trusted with her life. What you're about to hear will forever change how you see those magical marine shows that millions of families flock to every year. This isn't just another workplace accident. This is the horrifying reality of what happens when 6-ton predators are forced into concrete boxes for our entertainment. And the warning signs? They were there all along, but nobody wanted to listen. Today we're diving deep into 7 cases that will make your blood run cold. 7 professional trainers who stepped into those pristine blue tanks thinking they were safe, thinking they understood these magnificent yet deadly creatures. Some walked away forever changed. Others never walked away at all. And what the marine parks don't want you to know is that every single one of these attacks could have been prevented if profit hadn't come before human lives. Let's start with the case that shocked the world and changed everything. Case number 7, Dawn Brancheau at SeaWorld Orlando, February the 24th, 2010. Picture this. Families are settling into their seats at Shamu Stadium, kids clutching stuffed orcas, parents with cameras ready to capture the magic. They have no idea they're about to witness something that will haunt them forever. In the water below, 40-year-old Dawn Brancheau is preparing for what should have been just another routine interaction with Tilikum, the park's most famous killer whale. Dawn wasn't some rookie. She was the face of SeaWorld, literally appearing on their TV commercials and highway billboards. This woman had a psychology degree, specialized in animal behavior, and had worked her way up from training dolphins in New Jersey to becoming one of the most respected orca trainers in the world. But Tilikum wasn't. What followed wasn't quick. It wasn't merciful. For 45 agonizing minutes, this massive predator tossed Dawn around that tank like a rag doll, while horrified staff members threw nets, food, anything they could think of to distract him. When it was finally over, the injuries were beyond comprehension. Her left arm had been completely torn off. Her scalp was ripped away, leaving hair and skin floating at the bottom of the pool. Her bones were crushed, her jaw broken, ribs and vertebrae snapped like twigs. The official cause of death was drowning, but Dawn had endured devastating trauma that no human should ever face. The aftermath was immediate and industry-changing. Trainers were banned from entering the water with orcas, and 6 years later, SeaWorld finally announced they were ending their orca breeding program entirely. Tilikum spent his final years hidden from public view, dying in January 2017. But the questions remain. How many warning signs were ignored? How many red flags were dismissed in the name of entertainment? Now let's rewind to case number 6, because Dawn's tragedy wasn't the first time the industry had blood on its hands. Christmas Eve, 2009, Loro Park in Spain's Tenerife. While families across the world were preparing for holiday celebrations, 29-year-old Alexis Martinez was rehearsing what should have been a magical Christmas show with Quito, the park's star performer. Alexis was no amateur. He was an experienced trainer who had worked with Quito countless times before. The whale seemed calm, even in good spirits as they began their routine. But something went wrong during a move called a stand-on spy hop, a trick requiring incredible balance as the trainer stands on the whale's head. When Alexis lost his balance and fell into the water, Quito's behavior shifted dramatically. Instead of following the planned sequence, the whale positioned himself between Alexis and the platform. That should have been the first warning. What happened next was clearly deliberate. Quito used his massive snout to push Alexis downward, driving him to the bottom of the pool with obvious intent. When other trainers gave signals to break through to the whale, Quito surfaced briefly, giving everyone a moment of hope. But then he dove again, this time surfacing with Alexis balanced on the tip of his snout like some grotesque trophy, before finally releasing him to drift to the bottom. The rescue efforts were hampered by Quito himself, who seemed to be playing games, toying with the gates while precious seconds ticked away. Only when nets were deployed did he finally move to another section, allowing staff to reach Alexis. But it was too late. The autopsy revealed internal bleeding, broken bones, deep tissue damage, and bite marks that told the story of a violent, intentional attack. The park's response. They claimed it was an accident. They denied any signs of aggression. But experts knew better. In the wild, orcas live in complex family structures led by matriarchs who maintain order. In captivity, that social structure is completely destroyed. No space, no variety, just the same concrete walls day after day, leading to stress, boredom, confusion, and yes, deadly power struggles. Let's jump back even further to case number 5. November 21st, 1987, SeaWorld, San Diego. 26-year-old John Sillick was performing what should have been a routine stunt, riding a female orca during a choreographed show sequence. Everything was going perfectly until 5-ton male orca Orky 2 decided to launch himself through the air in an unplanned aerial maneuver, crashing directly onto the female carrying Sillick. The impact sent all 3 underwater, 2 massive whales and 1 very fragile human being. When they surfaced, Sillick's back, hips, and pelvis were shattered. Multiple ribs fractured. Leg bones snapped. He required 6 separate surgeries and over 1 kilogram of metal hardware inserted into his body just to hold him together. The recovery at UC San Diego Medical Center was grueling, and John would never move the same way again. SeaWorld's response was swift and telling. They immediately stopped allowing trainers to ride whales and banned them from being in the water during shows. The park president and 3 other employees were removed. But when Sillick filed a lawsuit claiming he wasn't adequately warned about the dangers, SeaWorld fought back hard. The case was settled out of court with a gag order that sealed thousands of pages of documents. The official explanation? Bad timing, not orca aggression. And of course, they blamed trainer error. But the attacks weren't stopping. Case number 4 takes us back to SeaWorld San Diego, November 29, 2006. Ken Peters was performing the finale of a show in front of a nearly packed Shamu Stadium with Kasatka, a 5,000-pound orca. The plan was simple. Rise and launch for a spectacular diving trick that would send the crowd home happy. Instead, Kasatka grabbed Peters by the foot and began a terrifying pattern of dragging him to the bottom of the 32-foot tank, surfacing just long enough for him to gasp for air, then pulling him down again. This wasn't a quick attack. It lasted nearly 9 minutes. 9 minutes of pure terror while thousands of spectators sat frozen, helpless to do anything but watch. Peters tried everything he'd been trained to do. Soothing techniques, calm commands, anything to break through to Kasatka. Finally, staff unrolled a net to block the whale's pursuit, and in that moment, Kasatka loosened her grip just enough for Peters to escape with a broken foot and deep puncture wounds. He could have died that day, but he survived to tell a chilling truth. He never believed Kasatka wanted to kill him. But something had pushed this intelligent creature to a breaking point. What was that breaking point? Experts believe it was the sound of Kasatka's calf calling from a nearby tank. In the wild, orcas live in tight family groups with their young. The stress of separation, combined with the confined space and artificial environment, created an emotional powder keg that exploded with Ken Peters caught in the middle. Case number 3 brings us back to 1987, just 3 months after John Sillick's devastating injuries. This time, it was 21-year-old Jonathan Smith, riding on the back of Candu, a female orca who had never properly adjusted to captivity after 9 years at the San Diego park. Without any warning, Candu suddenly clamped her teeth around Jonathan and dragged him to the bottom of the 32-foot pool. When she brought him back up, there were visible blood trails in the water. But Candu wasn't finished. Another orca joined the attack, slamming into Smith repeatedly, pushing him underwater again and again. The entire assault lasted 2.5 minutes, long enough for massive internal damage, including a ruptured kidney and a 6-inch laceration to his liver, plus bite marks and scrapes covering his upper body. Smith filed a lawsuit claiming inadequate training and risk information. Like the others, it was settled privately with a gag order. But here's the terrifying part. Just 3 months later, there was another attack at the same facility involving a female trainer who suffered a broken neck. The pattern was escalating, but the shows went on. Case number 2 takes us to SeaWorld San Antonio, July 2004. Steve Eibel was an experienced trainer working an afternoon performance with Kyara, a young orca approaching breeding age. Thousands of spectators expected routine entertainment, but Kyara had different plans. She ignored all commands and charged directly at Eibel with full force, body slamming him underwater repeatedly while the crowd watched in stunned silence. For several minutes, Kyara continued her assault, diving and ramming, with staff frozen by the speed and danger unfolding before them. Witnesses later said they truly believed the whale was trying to bite the trainer. Eibel's survival came down to quick thinking and incredible luck. He used Kyara's own back as a launching platform to escape. Even after he was safely out of reach, Kyara's frustration was obvious as she slammed her massive body against the ramp. Miraculously, Eibel escaped without physical injuries, but the psychological trauma was undenied. Blee. Officials blamed hormonal changes due to Kyara's breeding age, but that explanation barely scratches the surface of what's really happening to these incredible creatures in captivity. Think about it. Wild orcas swim over 100 miles every single day. They live in close family groups with sophisticated communication systems. They hunt, they play, they form lifelong bonds. In captivity, all of that is stripped away. They're fed dead fish on schedules, forced to perform the same tricks day after day, and show disturbing stress behaviors like chewing on metal bars, floating motionless for hours, and yes, attacking their trainers. Which brings us to case number 1, the most heartbreaking story of all. Maris Ellington was 27 years old, a marine biologist who had grown up along Oregon's rocky coast with a lifelong passion for sea creatures. She believed she had a special bond with Neptune, the biggest attraction at Blue Horizon Oceanic Park in San Diego, 20 feet long, 10,000 pounds of raw power. But Neptune was showing warning signs that couldn't be ignored. Tail slapping, refusing to follow cues, growing isolation and erratic behavior. A senior trainer even recommended Neptune's retirement, but management refused. The whale was generating too much revenue to be sidelined for safety concerns. On what would be Neptune's final performance, 500 spectators filled the amphitheater. Maris felt confident. She thought Neptune was in a good mood. The opening acts went flawlessly, but during the finale, a synchronized swim that should have ended with a spectacular breach, Neptune suddenly veered off course. He clamped onto Maris's midsection and propelled her upward before beginning a horrifying cycle of surfacing and then yanking her back underwater. Staff threw everything they had, buoys, ropes, fish buckets, poles, but nothing worked. Neptune began slamming Maris against the tank walls with devastating force. The assault lasted over a minute, causing multiple fractured ribs, a punctured lung, and severe blunt force trauma. Despite immediate rescue efforts, Maris was pronounced dead at the scene. The facility evacuated immediately, flooded with emergency responders, and suspended all orca shows indefinitely. Her parents filed a wrongful death lawsuit that was settled out of court, with terms that included funding for marine conservation and independent studies on captive orca welfare. These 7 cases span decades and multiple facilities, but the pattern is undeniable. Intelligent, powerful predators forced into artificial environments, showing clear signs of distress, with their warnings ignored until tragedy strikes. Each attack was preventable. Each death was avoidable. Each trainer trusted an industry that put profit over safety, entertainment over ethics, and spectacle over the well-being of both humans and whales. The most chilling part? These are just the cases we know about. How many other incidents have been covered up, settled quietly, sealed with gag orders and non-disclosure agreements? How many trainers have suffered in silence while marine parks continue to market these shows as safe family entertainment? The truth is uncomfortable, but it needs to be told. These magnificent creatures don't belong in concrete tanks performing tricks for our amusement. The cost, measured in human lives, animal suffering, and ethical compromise, is simply too high. These stories are difficult to tell, but they're necessary. They honor the memory of those who died and remind us that some forms of entertainment come with an unacceptable price. If this investigation has opened your eyes to the dark reality behind marine parks, hit that like button and subscribe for more hard-hitting content that exposes the truth behind the headlines. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.